So I first heard about Nanaba Duncan when I was checking out, something on Carleton University, and her profile popped up. And the deeper I went, the more I discovered, wow, what an accomplished professional a media person, media woman in Canada, doing extraordinary things to bring awareness, of the beauty of race and inclusion, especially as far as the media space is concerned. So I absolutely tracked her down, and I'm about to have that conversation with her. Nanaba Duncan is right here on Anita Erskine's Sheroes. Let's go. Nanaba, you are welcome to Sheroes.
Thank you for having me.
So, Nanaba, I've read your bio. You are exceptional. And it's so easy for someone to think you just rolled out of the bed one day, found your voice the next, and became this great woman. I know that your story is far from that. So, tell us about your path to self-discovery.
I would say that my journey was not inspired by one thing beyond just wanting to always do better, be bigger, and do more. And I would say that the woman I am is a woman who has learned to plan what she wants, a woman who has learned to listen to her heart, and also a woman who could stand even firmer on her ground.
Nanaba, was there a moment when you said to yourself, wow, I am a powerful woman. Nothing can get me down?
I don't think I do, actually. I don't think I have a moment where I realized all of the power that I think I have now. But I will say that there was this workshop, this week-long academy that I was part of. There's a media institute called the Pointer Media Institute in the US. It's based in Florida. And I was selected to be a delegate, and it's called the Academy for Women in Leadership. And it was one of these things where they gather a number of women who all work in media, who all either are leaders in some way or are on their way to being leaders. Some manage people, some don't. And it was on the last day where we had to do some reflection, where I realized that I am a leader. I had been resisting that term because I did not see myself as a leader, and most of the leaders that I knew, almost all of them, just didn't look like me or act like me. And so I think it was difficult to envision myself in that place. But at this week-long event, it was this thing where we had to do an exercise, and you had to sort of sum up things about how you're a leader or why you're a leader. And for so long during the week, I had been thinking that I wasn't really one. And by thinking about what I've done with Media Girlfriends as a podcast production company, I realized that I am. I realized that only a leader would be able to put together what I have put together. Only a leader would be able to corral other women, other journalists around her to create a $30,000 annual scholarship, those kinds of things. So, in that moment I cried, because it was like I was allowing myself to see myself as I am. And there was pride.
Do you find that it's difficult for a lot of women to accept that they are powerful, that they do have something special?
Well, the thing about, I hear you call me extraordinary, and it feels, I'm uncomfortable with the word because, when you're yourself, you are yourself. I don't walk around thinking I'm somehow extra more than other folks. But I'll tell you this, like, I know myself to be a mother. I'm the person who is washing the dishes at 8:30 or something, or trying to put a child to bed. I am rushing them out of the house in the mornings. I have to think about what what food is coming and other things that need to be done around the house. So that feels very normal. I also see myself as the one who led a group of Black employees to make statements and issue a call to action to the president of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, right? So I am both of those people. When I think of the kind of person I am, the one who also was the chair of an employee resource group for 300, 400 employees of color at CBC. It's when I think of those titles, if it makes sense, that, oh yeah, I did that. And I think I can see the extraordinariness you're referring to when I think of those things. But in myself, I'm just Nanaba, I'm just me.
You're just you, and I find you extraordinary. But Nanaba, I want you to talk about the impact you're making in women's lives in North America. Talk to me about it.
I would say there are two major buckets of my life in terms of what I'm doing career-wise. One is that I'm an associate professor at Carleton University, and I'm also the Carty Chair in journalism, diversity, and inclusion studies. And in doing that, I have had the opportunity to come up with a big idea, which is to launch the Marianne Shad Carey Center for Journalism and Belonging. This will be a research institute that will research, support, advocate, and participate in journalism that is focused on inclusion. And so that is a huge undertaking, in that we're going to begin with a number of research projects that examine the relationships between Black communities in Canada and journalism. So that's one bucket of my life. The other bucket of my life is what we talked about before, which is Media Girlfriends. And Media Girlfriends started as a podcast. It started as a podcast when I was in my second mat leave, and I wanted to do some interviewing and essentially give myself an opportunity to interview, an opportunity I wasn't seeing in the department where I was. And Media Girlfriends grew from being just a podcast to a scholarship. We started to hold some events, and then it became a podcast production company. At the moment, we are producing podcasts for a number of organizations, including Toronto Star, which is a newspaper of record here in Canada, and a number of other organizations. One of the podcasts that we created is called Strong and Free, and this is a 6-part podcast and video series on Black history, focusing on 6 different Black Canadians who made a mark. One of them was Marianne Shad Carey. Marianne Shad Carey was the first Black woman publisher in North America. And I did not know who this woman was. I only learned about her, I would say, maybe in the last 5-10 years. And that is well before I did my journalism degree. In my opinion, this woman, who was a leader, she was an educator, she started her own newspaper in Canada. Her name should be attached to journalism in this country. And that's why I'm naming my center after her. But to get back to Media Girlfriends, that is a podcast and video series that has won awards. We're very proud of that. And I would say that my goal is always to make it so that anyone who is part of a group that is marginalized or underrepresented or not represented in Canada, if you're a journalist who inhabits one of these communities and you're part of one of these communities, I want to make it so that your perspective, your experience is considered expertise, rather than the case as it has been, where if I'm a Black person and I go into an editorial meeting and I want to pitch a story that has to do with a Black community I'm familiar with, it's not considered news. And that's wrong, particularly if our organization wants to present the news from the perspective of all Canadians. That includes my perspective. That includes my people. That includes my experiences. And so I want journalists to always feel like they and their perspectives are legitimate as white people in this country. So I would say that my work revolves around all of that, and that I am doing my best to make sure that it happens.
We'll be right back after the break with you, Nanaba. The world of Anita Erskine Shiros gets more exciting by the minute. I mean, I meet all these women, both online and in person. When we go around the world, we call it Anita Erskine Shiros, globally speaking. And whenever you find us one-on-one, of course, it's a conversation worth having. But whatever it is, don't forget to subscribe to Anita Erskine Network on YouTube. Click on that bell button so that you can get notified whenever there's a new episode of Anita Erskine Shiros up and live. Of course, it's every Thursday at 1900 hours UTC. Our women are speaking. Are you listening? Nanaba, what should women do if they want to become successful?
I would say that you should pay attention to where your doubt is coming from. We all have doubt, and doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it, fear, it can help us, it can propel us, it can motivate us. But I think that we should interrogate where our fear and where our doubt comes from. For example, if I am thinking that I am not thin enough, or I'm not pretty enough for some reason or other, then I should be thinking about why I think that. Is it because my parents said something? Is it because of the news? Or is it because of media? Or is it possible that I can, after thinking about where this doubt comes from, that I can start to do the work in my mind about how some of that doubt and some of those reasons are just false, and that those reasons come from a way of thinking that is old and antiquated. For example, a woman, any person of any gender, can have worth because they exist. Our worth is not bound, should not be bound in our attractiveness. It should not be bound in our thinness or thickness. It must be bound in the person that we are. It doesn't even have to be bound in what you have produced or how much you have produced. Your worthiness comes from the fact that you exist. You are here as a human, and therefore you are worthy of being paid attention to. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of success. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Well, Nanaba, you know we cannot finish this conversation without talking about Africa. Now, what, in your opinion, would it take for Africa to achieve her goals of becoming this extraordinary, very capable, very self-reliant continent?
Well, to me, this is a big question I'm not sure I can answer, but what I'll say is that I miss Ghana. I miss Ghana so much. I miss the loudness of it compared to where I live. I miss seeing faces that look like mine. I miss okra stew. I miss wache on the street. And to answer the question about what Africa can do I think that's quite a large thing to consider. But I would say it's doing what it can. And for the most part, there should be pride in what Africa has to offer. There should always be pride in what you have. If possible, we should try to be proud of who we are as Africans and what Africa has to offer. I think we have a lot of proof that Africa has so much and doesn't need to copy, doesn't need to try and be like any other continent, or that our countries within need to be like any other countries. I think it's okay to look at what has been done the best and do and take that information and do what you can. But Africa has so much to be proud of. And I would say that I am proud of being a part of a country, a continent, a tribe of people who have so much to offer to the whole world.
Wow. We'll be back with Nanaba Duncan after this. The world of Anita Erskine-Shiros gets more exciting by the minute. I mean, I meet all these women, both online and in person. When we go around the world, we call it Anita Erskine-Shiros, globally speaking. And whenever you find us one-on-one, of course, it's a conversation worth having. But whatever it is, don't forget to subscribe to Anita Erskine Network on YouTube. Click on that bell button so that you can get notified whenever there's a new episode of Anita Erskine-Shiros up and live. Of course, it's every Thursday at 1900 hours UTC. Our women are speaking. Are you listening? So Nana, but don't worry at all. The okra and the wache will make their way to you pretty soon. But on a more serious note, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful story with us. Thank you for sharing your powerful mind and for giving us something to think about and for giving us the encouragement to be who we truly are and to keep pushing till we feel that, listen, we are in a room that acknowledges not just our presence, but how we got there, so much that it also gives room for others like us to waltz in or to walk into.
It's a boss lady thing.